The buyer side is 100% available to you however you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I could probably get like $5,000 in his pocket at closing. And then what's great about that is I can pay a lot more, obviously, because I don't have to come up with as much cash. And then I would bring my own money into the deal to do the improvements. If we hold it, then that's great because I'm sitting with good long-term debt. If I flip it, then obviously when I resell it, it would pay off that loan and that would be the end of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Let me just run it by my broker. Let me run it by him, make sure everything adds up. It sounds like a great option to net him a little more overall, and then I'll get back with you.
Yep, and he doesn't have to do any repairs. There won't be appraisals, inspections, none of that. So it is a really great solution for the right situation. And also I'd be willing, if it's helpful, do a conference call with your seller, if that's helpful to talk it through with him.
Okay, fantastic. You know, sometimes in this changing market with interest rates and all this stuff, I'm learning a lot. So
yeah, you have to kind of think outside the box right now because you know, if I came in to buy this cash, it would never work because he would have to write a check at closing or you know, lose money from when he bought it. That's never a good solution. No one likes doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep in mind too, any listings you get that are distressed, you know, let me know. I'll let you write for me, get both sides. I can do cash, creative like this, or whatever makes sense.
I love it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Laura. Talk to you soon. Okay, now that went about as well as can be expected. It's not a very complicated conversation, right? I mean, it's fairly straightforward, especially if you know what's going on. She revealed that he bought it a couple years ago, but if you can look up what they bought it for, and then you can do some basic math, you know it's going to be a great sub-2 type of deal. All right, guys, questions, feedback, what'd you think?
What is your ultimate goal if you get this house? Say you get the creative financing to work out. What are you trying to just fix it up and sell it real quick? Is that what we're looking for?
Not typically. No, I wholesale them.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. You wholesale that. If I got that deal at 165 and he has a 3% interest rate, I am going to have to come up with some cash because I'm going to have to pay that agent. I'm going to have to pay some closing fees. I'm going to have to pay the seller some cash. So that's what might hurt my deal. With on market, sometimes what hurts it is I just got to pay out a bunch because the seller can't pay the agent. The seller can't pay the closing fees because they don't have enough room, right? I always try to get the seller at least $5,000 in his pocket because if they're not getting anything, it's really hard to get them motivated to even look at your offer. It's kind of like, hey, you can try to sell this for 165, but by the time you pay the commissions and closing fees and probably a list of repairs because that thing needs work, right? You're going to walk away with nothing. Or let me just take over your loan and I'll give you $5,000. So, you know, nothing or $5,000, what sounds better? That's kind of how I get them to think about it.
With the numbers, how would it actually work for you? I mean, it's only been a week, but it's still not moving at that price. So,
well, that's the thing about creative. Creative, it doesn't matter about the price anymore. No one cares about the price. They care about the terms. When I go to an investor in that area that wants a rental and I say, hey, I got this deal for you. All you got to do is come up with $30,000, $35,000 and it's yours. And they don't have to come up with new terms, new financing, new down payment, 9% interest rate today or whatever, and then get into a 3%. They'll pay whatever price I tell them. They'll be happy to get into that deal. That's why creative is so attractive. Buyers will overpay because of the terms. And they're still getting a deal because ARV is $250. So even if they pay whatever they pay for buy and hold, now for a flipper, it may not make sense, but for buy and hold, it makes a lot of sense. So Robin said, I like how you put out there she could do more deals with you in the future. I always forget that part. Always remember that part. Karen said you went straight to the point. Yeah, the nice thing about agents is I don't mess around. I like to start out and say, tell me what's going on. And then they'll just start jabbering and tell me. Sometimes they won't tell me much. Sometimes they'll tell me a lot. She was really helpful. She told me, you know, hey, it needs a bunch of work. It smells bad, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, great. And then I just kind of go right into it. Charlotte said, when I mentioned the sub-2 scenario to my agent, her response was, the loan is not assumable. What's your response? Yeah, so that's a very common response. If the agent's unclear about what you're saying, I'll say, now listen, I'm not assuming the loan. I'm just taking over the loan. There's a big difference. Assuming would mean that I have to qualify and move the loan from them to me. And that's not what we're doing. We're actually just leaving the loan in their name, but I'm taking it over. So you just have to clarify that if they're uncertain about how that works. And did you guys notice how I offered to get on a call with the seller? I wish I could every time because oftentimes agents are the ones that screw it up because they don't know how to explain it back to the seller very well. I always offer, hey, let's put them on a conference call and I'll explain it to them.
I called a title company and I asked them to do a subject to, and they said, you mean assumable?
No, they just don't understand what subject to means. No, never use the word assumption, assumable. You can assume loans. There is such a thing as assuming a loan, but that's not what we're doing. I couldn't pay your asking price for cash, but if he was willing to wait to get some or all of his money, we could work out creative terms. Then I could make sure your commission gets paid, maybe put some money in his pocket, and then take over his loan. Do you think he would entertain that? This is what I always do with on market. I texted the agent and I said, hi Laura, I'm an investor. I'm interested in your listing on. Sometimes I'll say, I want to make an all cash offer. Can I call you to discuss? Or when can I always do with on market. I texted the agent and I said, hi Laura, I'm an investor. I'm interested in your listing on. Sometimes I'll say, I want to make an all cash offer. Can I call you to discuss? Or when can I call you? Or she replied back, sure. So I'm